Howdy, today we're going to install an ECOTOUCH 18 kW water heater. Relatively small, easy installation, so this won't take long. First, let's unbox it. Not really a lot in the box. You've got the water heater itself. It only has electrical connections here, cold water in there in the blue, and then hot water out there in the red. The control panel is pretty straightforward. Power on and arrow to run your temperature, your desired temperature up or down. When it comes on, it'll display the water temperature as it starts, and then you'll see it go up to the temperature it's heated to. Then you get an instruction manual, an operations manual, two rubber gaskets. Hard to see in this, but one has a screen in it, one does not. So you want the one with the screen in it to go into your cold water in, so you're filtering out any impurities before it gets into the water heater. And then a mounting bracket. And that's really all there is to it. So the first thing we need to do is remove this panel on the side so we can access the electrical connections, and we'll talk about the electrical requirements. So the first thing I want to point out is that it has one neutral, but if you can read that, it has two 40 amp double throw, double pole breakers. So 4 power connections and 1 neutral. So you'd have 2 off the red side, 2 off the black side, and then the 1 neutral. Because it is going to 40 amp, it is going to be an 8 gauge wire requirement for this. So you can't get away with your 12-2 or 14-2. Obviously you need thicker cable for the amps that this pulls. Now I'm replacing a smaller unit, but it only used 1 breaker. It was a 14 kW unit, and it had a 60 amp breaker, so the wires required for it were 4 gauge. So I'll be using 2 of my original 4 gauge, and then I ran 2 8 gauge wires to it. So the first thing I recommend is pop that open. And the reason I recommend opening it up first before you do anything else is if you're mounting it in a wall cavity like I am, the unit itself is 12 inches wide. A wall cavity is only 14.5 inches wide. So to get the wires in there and hook it all up, you need to have this open, do your wiring connections if at all possible before you hang it, and then put that panel back on. If you try to do it while it's all mounted inside a wall, that leaves you no room to get a screwdriver in here. If you're mounting it outside a wall, just hanging it on a wall, then obviously you wouldn't need to do that. The mounting's pretty straightforward. As you can see, it's got 2 built-in mounting brackets there. Like I said, it comes with 2. Recommend you mount those on either blocks like I'm going to, or on a stud itself. The unit's not terribly heavy, but I wouldn't trust it to a drywall with an anchor. I'd go ahead and mount that into a wood stud. So let's go ahead and open this panel up and take a look inside. So this is what it looks like inside. As you can see, we have 2, 1 red, 1 black connection up here, another red and black, and then a neutral or ground wire. So 4 power cables and 1 neutral or ground. This other thing that I recommend that you do before you put it up is this has 3/4 inch FPT or fittings, or NPT pipe fittings. So before you get this hanging on the wall, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put on the fittings that go to the PEX that's coming to this. That's what I've run in my cabin is PEX. So that way I can go ahead and hang it on the wall, run the PEX to it, and then just crimp the PEX directly onto it instead of trying to have it hooked to the PEX line and then thread it, because all that would do is loosen my PEX fittings. So the next thing I'm going to do is put some Teflon tape on here so that we can put on our 3/4 inch FPT PEX fittings. Okay, we've got our Teflon tape wrapped on there. With the cheap 98-cent Teflon tape, I recommend 6 or 7 wraps on there. I've run into issues where I just couldn't figure out why. No matter how much I tightened something, it kept leaking. And then I went back, did a little bit of research, and I wasn't putting nearly enough Teflon. I was doing 2 to 3 wraps. So ever since I started doing 6 wraps, which is what's on here, no more leaks. So we'll go ahead and put on the PEX fittings. Okay, we've got our PEX fittings on there now. We are ready to go. So the next thing I want to discuss is where this is going and the preparations you should do before even starting to mount this. So let's go into my laundry closet real quick and you can see what I've got there. Okay, we're in a tiny little laundry closet here for a stackable washer and dryer. I have not drywalled this wall in yet, so you can see through the wall into what will be a bedroom. But what I've done to prep it is I've already got the PEX cable or water lines run here. They're ready to hook up. Blue obviously is my inlet cold water, and the red's the outlet hot water that's going to go to the kitchen, which will be over there, and then the bathroom, which is on the other side of this laundry closet here. So central location for it. Aside from running the cable and stripping it, like I said, I had a 4-gauge wire already run for the previous water heater, and then I've just run the 8-gauge, these two wires here, the black and white. So that gives me 2 black, 2 red, and then 1 neutral that I've got run in the original wire there. Also, notice this blocking that I put here. The lower one is 4.5 inches from where the water will connect, and then the upper one is 16 inches from where the water connects. And the reason for that is where those mounting brackets are going to go for this. So let's take some measurements and get those hanging. All right, so we measured over 5 1/4 to 6 3/4, made a couple of marks there for where my screws were going to be, and then the line that you see where I marked the top, that is 11 5/8 from the bottom one to the top one. And like I said, I added about 3 inches to get down to where the water is going to connect. So let's do a quick test fitting and see how it sits there. All right, both the top and the bottom are hooked, and it is nice and secure. The water fittings are right where I want them to be. So far I'm happy. Like I said, if you look in there, that's where the electrical is. Kind of hard for me to get in there with it mounted. So we're going to take it back off the wall, hook up the electrical, and then hang it back up. Okay, we're basically halfway there. These were the original 4-gauge wires that came off of the 14 kW water heater I had. So they were a little stiff, a little harder to run in there. But the green arrow, that's your neutral or ground. So that's my white wire. Then the red's in the middle, then the black is in the far right. They're tiered, as you can see. One's lower than the other. So obviously you want to run those 3 first and then come in with the other red and black wires that go to a separate breaker. So we'll run those in now. Okay, much easier running the 8-gauge wire. So you're going to run those into the top tier. And one thing I didn't show before is you do want to make sure that you got a good connection, that those aren't going to slide out, because you are going to have to now pick it up and hang it on the wall, bending those wires. So make sure that all 5 of your connections are very, very good. So let's go ahead and put on the plate and then hang it. All right, we got her hanging back up there. Now we got the wires in there and the panels on the side. We are not going to put power to this yet. Obviously, we need to hook the water up, but kind of more important, once you get the water hooked up, you want to run that water through there for a good long time. Get all the air out of the lines, because thermodynamics, which is just a fancy word for heat transfer, the panels that are in this, electrical panels that 240 volts is going to, it is heating the water. But as important as that is the water is cooling those plates, like in a coffee maker. One of the things you should have learned a long time ago is you don't put hot water in a coffee maker. It doesn't make it operate any faster, doesn't make the coffee any better. What it will do, though, is shorten the life of your coffee maker, because those plates need to dispel that heat. And if you put hot water in there, they can't transfer the heat from the plates to the hot water. Same with this right here. It needs that cold water coming in order to cool those plates down. All right, the water has been running about 5 minutes. The manufacturer's operating instructions recommend 3 minutes, but I had this open while I was doing some other plumbing work, so I know air got in the line. So I just want to make sure we got all the air out, because we do not want to damage the unit. So make sure you run it a good long time. Like I said, minimum 3 minutes. So we'll shut off the water and then go turn on the unit. And like I said, you're going to need to put in 2 40 amp breakers to run this. And that's what I've got right there. So we're going to go and turn these on. All right, so that should get us power to the unit. Let's go in and give her a test run. Okay, a little lesson learned to pass on to you guys. Through the magic of film editing, or just turning off my camera and turning it back on later, you didn't see what I just went through. When I picked it up to hang it, I apparently pulled too hard on one of my 4-gauge wires and it disconnected. So when I got power to it, I didn't have power to it. 3 of the leads were connected, the neutral was connected, but 1 power lead was not properly connected, which meant I had, and since the water was all connected there, I had to somehow rig up a way to hold this to keep it from falling while I got it off of the mounts to get into the side to test the leads, found out which one was bad, get a little slack in the cable and pull it up in there and get it connected. But as you can see, we now have power. The water inlet is currently 65 degrees. The gallons per minute is 0. If I turn on the water, we start flowing water through it. Oh, wait a second. Helps if I actually have a setting. I don't know what this thing is set at. All right, we're going to go ahead. We're going to set this at 110 degrees. Just if I can figure out how to hit buttons. Okay, 110 degrees, and we're ready to give her a test. Turn the water on. Okay, it's already heated it up to 90. Well, it was 90. No, I guess that was the water that was sitting in there. It already got heated up. Now we're at 98. Now we're at 100, 103, 106, 109, 110. So it heats right up to 110. Our gallons per minute. I don't have a lot of water coming to this cabin, so we're only at 2.1 gallons per minute. Most I think I've ever seen is like 2.9. I need to go to my well and see if I can increase the pressure. But right now it's doing exactly what it says it should do. Let's go ahead and kick this up a little. 120 degrees is what I've set it at. Let's see what happens here. Yep, it's 100. Well, by the time I got done flashing, it was already at 118, 119. So I imagine it's going to hit 120 degrees here in a second. Should. 119 is close enough. Oh, there's 120. So it appears to be working just fine and dandy. I will follow this up with a review video once the appliances are all installed and hooked up. As you can tell, I don't have a washing machine in here. The dishwasher is not hooked up, and I've got no drains going to either one of my sinks, so can't run water in there. Right now, this is the only hot water valve I have, but we've got a test of steady 120 degrees out there, so we should be good to go. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. I'll try to answer when I can. Thanks a lot.